All right, fellas, we're getting into it, man. Listen. 6 months, 6 months can really change your life. Like if you lock in for 6 months, you can change your life. January is coming up. A lot of people want to start their journey. If you take your journey seriously, and by the way, there's no perfect time to start except the time you make perfect. So start right after you see this video. But if you start your journey and you lock in for 6 months, you will completely change your life. You change your habits for 6 months, you will completely change your life. That's all it takes to change your life, right? And I mean day in and day out. I don't mean, 1 week on, 1 week off, 1 week on, 1 week off. 6 months of consistency could really change your life. Like my programs that I do for my clients is 6 months to a year, and I'm sticking to 6 months to a year from now on. No more 3 month, 4 month, any of that stuff. Anyways, those who do 4 months, they usually renew anyways, but no more 4 months or any of that shit, because it takes 6 months like minimum to start changing your habits. 4 months is just too short a period of time. If you're 25 years old, 30 years old, 35 years old, you have 34 years. Like if you're 35 years old, you have 35 years of bad programming, of lack of nutritional knowledge, of lack of the mindset it takes to lock in and reach your goals. So the bare minimum you could do to even start to offset it is give it 6 months minimum, right? Realistically, you want to give it a year, but at least give it a 6 months for a head start to kind of see where you can be when you change your mindset. But trying to outdo, like there's some 40-year-olds, right? If you start your fitness journey in your 40s and you're like, I'm gonna change my life in 3 months, 3 months versus 40 years of bad programming, it takes more time than that. You got to be realistic. It takes more time than that to outdo it. Just like every time a rookie quarterback comes into the NFL, besides CJ Stroud, their first year, they're not going to ball out. They got to sit, they got to learn, they got to get used to the speed of the defenses. Brett Favre, he struggled in the beginning. Aaron Rodgers sat for 3 years. Tom Brady sat for a few years, and then he was garbage when he started, then he got better. It takes time to get better at something you've never seen before, like a mindset that you've never been exposed to before, right? It takes time, but when you really lock in for 6 months, you can change everything. When you are hitting the gym every single week, 4 to 5 times a week for 6 months, your body's gonna change. When you're hitting your protein goals, eating in a calorie deficit for 6 months, you can lose, say you're 40% body fat when you start, if you lock in for 6 months, that's 24 weeks, you can lose literally anywhere from 20 to 30% body fat in that amount of time, just depending on how much you lock in. Like it's possible. You can do that if you really, really lock in and take it very serious day in and day out. If you start reading 10 pages a day for 6 months, 24 weeks, if you start reading 10 pages a day for 6 months, your mindset's going to change. You're going to look at things differently. You're going to have a more positive mindset. You're going to have a more delayed gratification mindset. You're going to start to understand a lot of things that happen and a lot of the patterns that have happened. Because when you read books, guys, you're reading successful people's entire lives, right? Hundreds of years of knowledge in one book, because those successful people, for example, you already know Napoleon Hill, all his books, he used to go talk to Andrew Carnegie and all these other famous people, you know what I mean? So he has all this knowledge and it's just in a book. So when you're reading 10 pages, you're absorbing years and years and years of knowledge and perspective. So it gives you more confidence when you go out in the world, but it gives you more awareness as well as what it takes to be successful. When you stop watching flicks for 6 months, right? You stop watching, Netflix, you stop watching The Hub for 6 months. You stop whacking off for 6 months. You eat higher protein for 6 months. Your testosterone is going to go up. You're going to have more energy. You're going to attract more people. It's all going to happen. When you lock in for those 6 months, you're going to go from, like I said, if you're 40% body fat, saggy posture, bad posture, huge man boobs, to good posture. You can see your abs, you can see cuts. You know what I mean? You have more confidence. Your jawline is going to pop. This can all happen in 6 months. The only way it'll happen in 6 months, though, is if you do what it takes on a daily basis, right? You do the work when you don't want to. That's the only way it's going to happen. It's not happening if you just do good for 1 week, show up for 1 week and then stop, show up for 2 weeks and then stop. Show up for 24 weeks straight, no matter how you feel. Just like you show up for work. You show up for work no matter how you feel. Same thing. Show up every single day, just like you brush your teeth. Think of fitness as brushing your teeth. You brush your teeth every morning, you don't even think about it. You should be hitting the gym 4 to 5 weeks without even thinking about it. Just put it in the calendar. If it's there, do it, right? Eat what you need to eat. If it's there, do it. Execute. Just think about executing for 6 months. That's all you want to think about. Sleeping on time, waking up on time, getting the amount of sleep you need, drinking the water, executing, hitting the protein numbers. Just do that for 6 months. Rinse and repeat. You will change your life. You'll literally be ahead of 95% of people. Honestly, that's being conservative. I swear, I promise, if you're not on steroids and you do 6 months of what I just said, you're going to be ahead of like 99% of people. People just aren't willing to put the work in. Once they get uncomfortable after a month, they stop. Once they get uncomfortable after 2 months, they stop. Once they start to get results, they take their foot off the gas. They stop. Keep your foot on the gas for 6 months straight, and you are going to change everything. It's literally, you're going to change everything. You're going to be leaner than most people. People aren't going to recognize you. They're like, oh, what'd you do? Ozempic, steroids? Because that's what could happen in 6 months. Here's the thing. Knowing that you can go from 30% body fat to 10% body fat in 6 months, knowing you can go from 40% to 15 to 20% in 6 months, it blows my mind that more people don't do it. That's literally life changing. 40% body fat is you're out of shape, you're sluggish, you feel like shit, you have no confidence. 15%, you start to look muscular, you lose your titties, your stomach goes from like probably 42 all the way down to 32 or 33. I mean, you're looking way different. You're seeing your abs, more confidence. Like a lot of people struggle with confidence. Good luck not being confident when you're leaner, when you have more energy, when your posture's better, when you're cut up, when everyone's complimenting you, when people are approaching you, when you're starting more conversations, because people are going to be more friendly to you when you're lean. It is what it is, because they know that you have purpose and you're working on something, versus if you're just out of shape, they're just like, he has bad posture, he has no discipline, right? It is what it is. You can become that person in 6 months. You can be that person that people look up to. You can become that person that people are like, hey man, how do you get like this? How do you get like that? Like, you can literally change your entire life. Like, I always say this. I don't know how many of you guys watch anime, but I'll say that my transformation is like truck hun. It's like an isekai, right? It's like when I was 19, skinny as hell. It's like I got hit by a truck and I just woke up. And then, when I was 21, that's like my second half of life. Like 21 is when I got to like 205, pretty solid, right? And I was getting a lot of attention, and just everything changed. Everything changed. Literally every little thing in life changed. The way I brushed my teeth changed because my arm got bigger. I had to, you know what I'm saying? Everything changed. Like, I stopped reaching out to people. I stopped reaching out to chicks and looking thirsty. They started reaching out to me. I stopped asking people in the gym for advice as much. I still did, because there's some older dudes who were super swole. But as much as I did, people started asking me for advice. How do you get your traps like that? Craziest advice I've ever gotten in my life, because I changed my life in 6 months, 8 months, right? Craziest moment for me, the turnaround moment, because so February of 2016, what was I, 20? 2016, 2015? I was 20. 2016, I think, yeah. February of 2016, I was 20, and I was working on my goals, bulking, trying to gain some muscle while I was in nursing school. February, I was getting roasted. I was asking people for advice. That same year, October, February, that's 8 months. So October that same year, I was asking people for advice all over the gym the entire like February, January, and March. I was just asking people for advice, because even though I knew a lot of stuff, I wasn't at my goals. I bulked hard as I could for 8 months. By October, people were coming up to me. They're like, hey man, how do you get your traps like that? I remember the first time someone asked me that, because I was asking that question like crazy, obsessing over growing traps, and I just couldn't. And then it finally happened. And I was just doing, some shrugs, machine shrugs, or whatever, which is the best movement for shrugs. And then some dude came up to me. He's like, how do you get your traps like that? And it was such a like crazy moment for me. I was like, excuse me? And he was like, how do you get your traps big like that? And I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, it was such an eye-opening moment for me. I couldn't really grasp it. I was like, okay, what is he saying? Is he saying my traps are small? And he's like, dude, your traps look amazing. Like, how do you get them like that? I was like, holy shit. He asked me for advice. That's weird. That's crazy. So then, I gave him advice and all that stuff, but it started happening more and more often. And then I worked in the gym, and people started approaching me and like, hey, I want to work with you. Now, let me rewind this so I can tell you guys how significant the 8 months were. So in February, I was super skinny, trying to train in the gym, asking people questions. No one wanted to train with me. They wanted to train with the fitness manager because he was bigger. He was about 5'7", like 180 solid, right? I was like 150 soaking wet, and I'm 6'1", so it was horrible, right? Fast forward to the end of the year. I already had the strength, by the way, because I was lifting, but I didn't have the nutrition. Started bulking real hard for 8 months straight, no days off, even during clinicals. We would eat cold rice and cold chicken, just sneak it as fast as we can. Like, hey, I got to go to the bathroom real quick, professor. Okay, go ahead. Just eat the food as fast as you can. Pause, but just eat the food as fast as I could. That's what I was doing, just making it happen. No excuses. Oh, you got to wake up at 2 a.m. to eat? Fuck it, do it. Oh, you got clinicals at 5 a.m.? Wake up at 1 a.m. and eat. Like, just do what you had to do. I just did what I had to do. Set an alarm, eat. I had GERD, and I felt like throwing up 24/7, but guess what? I gained the muscle. I had to do what I had to do, period. All right? Worked on the weekends, still made it happen. So, so February, no one wanted to train with me. I was like, everyone was like, you're not a trainer. Are you sure you're not a janitor? Like, I was getting roasted. These are real conversations. And then fast forward to October, November, I'm working in a different gym. I'm the top salesman. Everyone's coming up to me. They're like, hey man, you look great. How do you do this? How do you do that? That is the power of consistency. That's the power of locking in for 8 months in that scenario, right? Like I said, I already had the lifting strength. Even though I was 150, I could easily bench like 270. It was just nothing because I was used to lifting, but I just didn't have the nutrition down to actually build the muscle. So that's when I actually started bulking in February. But yeah, everything changed in that year. Like the way people looked at me. The beginning of that year, I hit up a lot of chicks. I'm not trying to talk about body game, but I hit up a lot of chicks. And at the end of the year, all those chicks that left me on red, I would post stories on my Snapchat and Instagram. You know, go to sleep, wake up, and those same chicks were like, "Oh my God, when did I start following you? You look amazing. Who are you?" All this shit, like, it just everything changed. How my family saw me, they're like, "Oh, okay." You know how Haitian families are. They're like, "Oh, okay, this nigga's really locked in," because we're telling him stop doing what he was doing, and what is he doing? He's weird, but what he's doing is working. And then my parents, like their friends and my cousins and stuff, they would come over. They'd be like, "Oh, wow, the muscle boy," and they started seeing me as that instead of just the skinny lame nerd that they used to see me as. So how people see you change, how you feel about yourself changes, the belief that you have in yourself changes, and you apply to other aspects of your life. Everything changes when you change, right? When you make a change. Stop waiting for the world to change, nigga. This is not a John Mayer song, bro. Stop waiting for the world to change and change yourself, all right?